Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. It means a lot to me. I've spent a lot of time over the last few months developing various AI applications, and I wanted to show a few things that have helped to maximize the performance of AI in a very simple format. Now, I have mostly dealt with OpenAI's APIs and using Langchain and some databases. And what I wanted to show you today was a very simple way to communicate with a personal database as well as maintain your own chat history. And with that chat history, be able to carry that chat history through multiple sessions. And this is pretty fun, pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to showing it to you. So let's buckle up and have a great time.
So we're going to start off by importing some modules and setting up so that we can create a current conversation in a Word document file. So after importing some modules that we need to do, we then create a timestamp for the start of this, and then we instantiate a file name and document, and we add a paragraph to that document, and then we save our document with that file name, which happens to be our timestamp, in this folder, Conversation Documents. Now I've got a few here to show you what they would look like when they're created from different days. And if I were to run this, we would watch one of those be created right there. Now, that is a blank document. I'm going to delete it, and it's the other one I made today because they're just blank. But then we're going to move on to some other items. So we're going to initialize our chat memory here. What we're going to use is a Langchain conversation buffer memory. There's a few different types of styles of memory. There's a window buffer memory, there's summary, there's just several different ways to do it. But for my purposes here, we're demonstrating a conversation buffer memory. We're going to pass in the key chat history, and we're going to add a few messages to those. So we're going to add a user message, "Hi, my name is Seth," and then we're going to add an AI message response to it. So if we were to run this right now, what we would get is messages, "Hi, my name is Seth." Great. Okay, then we're good to go. We're done. Well, now let's move on to some more items here. We're going to set up our .env file. And what we're going to do is we're going to come over, make sure you're in the parent folder here, and we're going to add a new file. We're going to label it dot or period env for environmental variables. Get my caps lock off, and here we go. In here we're going to put in our OpenAI key, which for demonstration purposes, that's what I'm going to use. Then returning to our program right here, we're going to move on to creating a database to take care of our conversation as well as our custom knowledge base. This is some of the beauty of what we've got going here. So we're going to import a module. We're going to start working a little more with Langchain. We're going to import our recursive text splitter, our OpenAI embeddings. We're going to use a Facebook face vector database. We're going to also import our loaders so that we can read PDF documents and Word documents. I'll tell you what those mean in a little bit, but to start, we're going to go into the directory. We're going to find all the PDFs, and we're going to return those as PDF files, and we're going to do the same for our Word documents. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take all our PDF files, we're going to join them, we're going to split them, and then we're going to add them to our pages array. right here. And then we're going to do the same with our Word documents. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take our array up here that we created and added to in a couple spots. There we go. And we're going to split all of these and create a list for them, which are of the size chunk size and with an overlap that we've passed in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create a vectorized database from those documents and using our embeddings model, our OpenAI embeddings. And we're going to return that database. Now, what we're going to do, this is kind of the beauty of where we're going. We've got our database and we've got our chat database. So our database would be like where we have our personal custom knowledge base. Our conversation would also be stored in its own separate database. So I've got two folders here. I've got a document here, a PDF for demonstration, and I've got Word documents right here in our as our conversation. We've been storing those up, and that's what we do when we run this. Is we create these two different databases. They've got a different chunk size. So our conversation is only 200 characters. Our regular database is 1,000 characters with an overlap of 100 characters or 25 characters respectively. Well, now we're going to get into some more. We've got some formatting that's going to come to play later, but we're going to, this is the real meat of our application right here, so I'm going to step you through it. This is our OpenAI query. Now we're going to import OpenAI chat models. We're going to establish a large language model chain. We're going to enable it so that we can stream back a response from OpenAI. We're going to use the prompt templates to facilitate passing of information to the chat model, and I'll show you how that works. So when we call this function getResponseFromQuery, we're going to pass our database chat, and our query with the number of documents we want to source as 5. We're going to establish our memory based off of our conversation buffer. We are going to return the top K, or in this case 5, documents from our customized knowledge base. And now remember that this isn't documents, it's going to be the chunks that we established a lot earlier over here. So it's going to search in these databases and it's going to grab chunks of 1,000 characters for that database, from that database, that relate, similarity search, that relate to our query. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to put them into a string format by joining them with a space. Then we're going to do the exact same thing for our chat, passing our query to our chat and our chat database and doing a similarity search with it, returning the top 5 again results. Then we're going to join those into a string. Now we need a chat model, so we're going to create an instance of our chat model. We're going to enable streaming, which means that we should see the characters come in on terminal as they come in, much like how you'd see on ChatGPT. And we're going to use the GPT 3.5 Turbo model, which is the base model for ChatGPT 3 for ChatGPT. And recently, OpenAI came out with an update on this, saying that there is going to be an extension of 16,000 tokens versus the original about 4,000. And I think that'll be good. I think it will enable a lot of people to do a lot more with these models. For example, you can have a larger history, or you can pass in more documents. We need to enable callbacks so that we can see that come through. I'm going to set my temperature to 0.2 because I want my responses from OpenAI to be very clear and not super creative. I want them to give me very good answers about the documents that I've stored or my conversation. Then we're going to start creating our templates. So the first template we're going to create is our system prompt template. Now we're going to pass in 3 things into this model. We're going to pass in our documents, right, which we created up here. Pass in our chat documents, which happens to be this string right here, but I'll show you when that gets called. We're going to save that off as the system message prompt from this template that we just created. We're also going to create a human template, which happens to answer the following question, meaning that when we pass a question in, that is what we're saying is the template going from the human side. We're going to instantiate that as a human message prompt. We're going to pass both the human message prompt and the system message prompt to our chat prompt template, or we can put in both. Now I'm going to let you see what gets passed a little later. We're going to implement a chain so that we can better take care of our memory. We're going to run a response, which is we're going to run our chain with our question, our documents, our chat documents, and our current messages, our buffer, our conversation buffer. And what this does is it passes our query into the question parameter of the human message prompt right here. Okay, it passes our docs page content, which we created up here, passes our docs page content to our system message prompt, which uses those as docs, right? Then we're going to do the same thing with our chat documents right here and our messages. They both go in here to our messages and docs chat right there. Add a paragraph to our Word document. We're going to add the query, then we're going to add another paragraph with our response, and then we're going to save it. Now, here's where what I did is I then reinitialize the database for our chat because we've updated our chat. And when we get a response, it could be a gigantic response, or when we put a query in, it could be a huge query. Now, both of those are much bigger than, it could be much bigger than our 200 character size that we usually want our chunks to come in. So that's why I'm recreating the database. Then what we're going to do is we're going to format the responses that the responses from our data so that we can pass them to the user later as a very readable format. Now these functions, organize documents, right here, this takes care of interpreting the database, the custom database, formatting it in a way that we can see it in a clean, neat fashion. This does the same thing, but for the chat history. They're just different in how they come across, and so I decided to separate them. And what this does is it also returns the timestamp of when the conversation happened. And then we return those from this function. So we return the response from the large language model query, the query to OpenAI. Then what we do is we pass our documents and our chat documents in a clean, neat fashion. Then what we're going to do is we're going to create our chatbot function here, where we take our input, text, we can get a response, we organize our documents and our chat, and we return those to whoever calls this function. Now I've implemented this into a Gradio interface. Now this has an input text box that we'll see later, just saying enter your text. It gives it about 7 lines, but usually people don't need more than that. And then I'm going to output our chatbot response, and then our related documents and our related conversation. And what we're going to do is we're going to pass the return from our chatbot function to those respective text boxes. And we're going to launch it on server port 7860. We're not going to create a shareable URL. I just don't see a need. And then I'm going to have this launch in my browser immediately so that I don't have to go searching for this port. Now, this is all kind of a bunch to do, but let me show you how we can do this. I usually like to use git bash for running command lines. So let's do that. If I come in here to the main folder, I'm going to git bash here. We're going to run our Python script, and I'm going to actually pull up this page so that you can see how this goes when I run it. Oh, I need to save my document. Let's do that first. Save all. Save. Can probably close these others. Now it's going to take a minute to spin up and get going. But here we go, we've launched, and here is our basic Gradio interface. Now let's start asking a couple questions. So I'm going to ask, what is VTRR? And this is a specific term in the document, in my database. Now what we see here is we generated our system message prompt template and our user message prompt. And then we saw the query come in like we normally do in ChatGPT. Gradio doesn't support streaming like that. You'd need to go with a higher power interface and HTML document to take care of that. But we got our response back, and here are our related documents. On page 85 we have this, and then on page 94 we have this, and 92 we have this, and all passed. Those are all the documents that were passed. And then we have conversation from our documents from this time, from this document, all of those and there you have it. That is the code. That is how it runs, that's how it works, and you get a custom database capability as well as custom conversation retention. So if you were to close down this application, you still have your conversation because it's saved off into your conversation database in Word documents, and you also can reference certain things about it live. So if I was to open up now one of these documents, let's see, let's open this most recent one that we just did. This is how it would look. We initialized it with this phrase, which you can take out, and here we have it. What is VTRR? Well, VTRR stands for blah 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 blah. There we go.
Thank you so much for watching. This has been quite an adventure, and I hope it has been for you too. If this was at all helpful, please like, please share, and please subscribe. It would mean the world to me. Thank you.